Welcome back into Mining Stock Daily. This is Trevor Hall. We are happy to be joined by a new company that we are the first time highlighting here on the show, and that is Clarity Gold Corp. Clarity Gold trades on the CSE with the symbol CLAR, and also on the OTC market in the U.S. with CLGCF. Have to be joined by President and CEO, Mr. James Rogers. James, welcome to Mining Stock Daily.
Thanks, Trevor. Happy to be here. Happy to finally get on the show. Long-time listener.
Appreciate that. Hey, let's since this is the first time we've had you or Clarity Gold on the show, let's just give the listeners a little bit of an introduction to the company. You started out with a project out of BC. You've recently acquired a new project. As of yesterday, the news was announced in the Abitibi. Talk to us about the kind of foundations of Clarity Gold, why you feel Clarity Gold is different from other exploration companies in the market, and how you what your strategy is for growth here.
For sure. So yeah, Clarity Gold was incorporated about a year ago, actually, end of 2019. We pursued a public listing on the CSE, went public in June with our flagship asset, the Empirical Project, which is gold copper porphyry in southern British Columbia, just outside of Lillooet. And that was really our prime focus as we came into listing. Acquired a couple other BC projects, built a really tight structure around this project. But project generation and exploration is kind of at the core of our team. So we always keep our eyes open for new opportunities and assets. And after reviewing and going through a number of things, the recent acquisition of the Destiny project in the Abitibi, Quebec, was something that we just had to take as an opportunity, recognize the value for it. So we've recently done a transformational acquisition and pivoted, marking our kind of first footstep outside of British Columbia for exploration. And yeah, we're jumping right into the heart of mining in Canada and the Abitibi. So
yeah, we're going to talk about these projects and kind of what you're wanting to do with them on exploration front here the rest of the year and into 2021. But I think it'd be worthwhile for people who maybe are unfamiliar with you, and I've actually quoted you a couple times here on the podcast, saying you're one of the hardest working men I know in this industry, because I have known you for a couple of years. So I've seen what you've been able to do. You run Longford Exploration as well. That's been a company you've created and formed and have done really well with over the last few years. But you really are boots on the ground, early exploration, prospecting. How does that work really lend towards pushing towards running an actual publicly traded exploration company? And did some of that work that you did for Longford transition into Clarity?
For sure. That's actually a really good question. And people ask how everything else that I've had my hands on or I've been working in complements or works with Clarity. And it's important to recognize that Longford Exploration, or our services arm, which does, like you said, specialize in that data management, processing data, and grassroots exploration. How does that complement something when we're building Clarity or looking at projects or evaluating things? Having that experience with being able to process and interpret data very quickly, having access to a good geologic team of specialists, either down to claims management and permitting, it's certainly an advantage when you understand how those work, and you don't have to necessarily outsource it all the way. It's outsourced, but it's close, right? So we've got that kind of direct line right into the exploration team. Our roots for Longford are really in that early stage project, but we have and continue to work on more advanced into feasibility stage projects as well now. So it's certainly a powerful asset for Clarity to have access to and be able to work alongside such a nimble little exploration company as well.
You've done some bushwhacking all over the world, right? Yukon to Vancouver Island, all the way into Africa. So
for sure,
your passport is quite thick.
Not
Lots
right
of
now.
stamps in there.
COVID really put that
That's
to a
true.
curb.
That's very true. But it seems like you, with clarity and with these recent acquisitions, getting clarity off the ground. I mean, you recognize the value in Canada and working in Canada, so you're staying
Yeah.
home and putting your foundation here.
It's a big consideration, especially during times of uncertainty like right now. During a global pandemic, traveling is just hard. It is hard to operate. It's hard to work internationally for a Canadian-based company. It's hard to even be able to travel and do due diligence right now on assets. You can do it, and it can be done, and it can be done successfully and well. But when we look at the endowment of mineral that we have in Canada, and if you can find the right opportunity and the right exploration story that you can add some value to domestically, I think that's really been what Clarity's been all about from the beginning. Keeping it in North America, keeping it domestic here in Canada.
The business motto of Clarity is interesting. You call it the art of discovery.
For
Break this
sure.
down for us. Why you putting art in your in your delivery
Nothing's
here?
nothing's linear. Geology isn't exact. Nothing is exact. And the art of discovery is about the subtleties and nuances that it takes to actually work with all of this historic information that we have. You have to remember. So one of the most interesting things that I did as we were working on pulling together some of the materials for the Destiny project was looking at a drill hole database across all the Abitibi, for example. And one of the biggest questions, and we'll jump into more about this project, but one of the biggest questions is why is the break or the structural corridor that the Destiny project on, why are there not as many major or big or advanced projects along that break compared to the others? So one of the methods or ways that I sought to understand that question, not even to answer it, but just to understand what it meant, was by taking 184,000 drill holes across all of Ontario and Quebec that are within the generally broad defined Abitibi, pulling them together and taking a look at casing depths, mapping out that overburden, and seeing, oh, you know what? When you're down in Rouyn-Noranda, Val-d'Or, and Kirkland Lake, there's not that much overburden. There's not that much till. So, if there is a mineralized body, it's nearer to surface. It's easier to find. And you can see that and map out all these trends. And I think that's where the art form comes in, is how do you think a little bit differently about the way we look at a whole subset of Canadian geology, and how do you interpret why or how to best explore there? So it's more than just get out and drill. It's about why and how can you add that value, right?
So you pick up this Destiny project. There's been a large amount of work that's been done to it previously. I mean, over 50,000 meters of diamond drilling has been done. It has a 43101 resource on it from 2011, which includes 360,000 ounces in the indicated category, 247,000 ounces in the inferred resource category. What are some of the challenges that you're going to be faced with this project, knowing what you know? I mean, it's almost like it's handed to you here.
It kind of is. So I think there's an important thing to understand about the way that the project. So we had an opportunity to negotiate and acquire this project from a company who it became non-core for. They had seen it through to that 2011 published, the 43101 resource published in 2011, which you just described. Now, 2011 is important to remember that most companies are looking for ounces at surface. So think open pit resources, large bulk tonnage. Everybody wanted ounces at surface. Now, my impression and what I understand of the Abitibi is there are a lot of ounces at surface, but there's also a lot of underground or higher grade mines in operations all through all of the breaks or the main structural corridors where gold mineralization is. So I think it's important to understand that it's not necessarily a challenge. I really like having the opportunity to underpin the value in this project and evaluate whatever is going to be the best course of action. But having optionality for open pit and for underground is great. And this project represents that to me. There is at surface ounces at a gram for, open pit potential. We're looking at a 40-kilometer trucking distance to the nearest sort of processing plant, something along those lines. We're only, less than 100 kilometers away from Val d'Or as well by road. But looking at the intercepts, and once we started to peel back the onion and get into the actual data, we can see a number of high-grade intercepts within what they define as a sort of an open pit style resource. So, optionality, but being able to look at how do we think about it a little bit differently is pretty important. So.
Well, it obviously comes at a cost, right? Nothing's for free. So let's talk about how you're going to get a full interest into this agreement. It comes at basically a price tag of $8.5 million, broken up between $3 million in cash in total over 3 years, and then your share issuance of $5.5 million in the value of $5.5 million. How do you go about making sure that all things, assuming go correctly for clarity, going out paying for this acquisition, and talk about you are just a brand new company. What is this a risky acquisition for you straight out of the gate?
I don't know that it's so risky. We've structured the deal in such a way that it is sort of a stage-wise earnings. So you're right, $3 million cash, 5.5 in stock over 3 years. I think would be a sale price for an asset that's got, the ounces that it does have with the data that it has. 50,000 meters of drilling. Remember that. It's a lot of drilling. It's a lot of geophysics that's been done, and it really needs that fresh look and pulling everything together. The main project, or the deposit area itself, is open on strike and depth. So when we look at valuing a project like this, I think it's actually a very good price overall to be paid for it. But the way that we structured it, we have a lot of optionality. A lot of it is stock heavy. It's 5.5 in stock, and it's based on a 5-day VWAP average price. And we, as Clarity, have the option to accelerate any part of the agreement at our discretion as we move through this. So really the next steps for us are going to be to dig in farther, get this thing drill permitted, get ready to do some infill drilling, and explore some of the strike and depth extension, roll up all the historic work, and build up a better Quebec management team to actually take this project forward. While we're doing all of that, we have 60 days to make our first payment on the project. So we've kind of structured it all so we've got a lot of flexibility and a lot of opportunity to make sure that we're realizing the value that we are expecting.
Yeah. So the first payment within 60 days is about just less than $500,000.
Correct.
On the back of this, James, just real quick, get your comments here. You did announce a private placement. You're going to raise about $3 million, give or take, price of 96 cents per unit. You're going to raise about 10 million units for the company. I believe there is a warrant or half a warrant at $1.25 there. This was part of the deal to get things really moving, huh?
Yeah, correct. So I'll just clarify that a little bit. So we're looking at, we have announced the financing along with this acquisition, 96 cents. It's a half warrant for a year at $1.25. Our goal is to grab about $3 million here right now. We'll see how the reception is. We do have the option to increase that as we see fit. I think it's important to capitalize this company to be able to take this asset through, especially into the next phases of doing the infill drilling and really taking this for a walk down how all the high grade strings together, right, within the larger open pit resource.
Are you participating in this private placement yourself?
Yeah, I'll be participating in the private placement. Yeah.
Okay. It is something to be seen. I mean, you did mention you came onto the market in July. Your share price went from, 35 cents, give or take, and is now up to $1.26. Just some of those incredible moves that we saw during the boom cycle we had this summer in the junior mining space. However, what's different between Clarity compared to a lot of other companies that came to the market at the same time is you haven't necessarily seen the big amount of selling and tax loss selling that a lot of other companies are stricken with lately. What do you attribute that to?
Yeah, I think it's because of the tight structure and our strong shareholder base. Having the opportunity to build a company from scratch. I mean, you got to remember, this is a clean IPO. In June, we IPO'd at 17.5 cents. And it's been really organic growth since then. But I think people our shareholders are excited about what we can do, what we can bring for value out of something like the Destiny project. So you'll see a pretty big volume increase in the last couple of days since we've announced this transaction. So there is some profit taking here right now, but we haven't really given anybody, a tax loss opportunity on this. I mean, it really has been a very strong technical chart if you take a look at it. So.
Who are your shareholders that are keeping this very tightly held?
A lot of close friends and folks here out of Vancouver that are able to kind of pull things together. We positioned and worked with a number of people that are, have an expectation if they're involved in an earlier round that they're going to be involved in a later round. So we built a shareholder base that's designed for the long term on this company, not just for a quick flip, right?
James, appreciate your time. That introduction, we'll be sure to have you on again as we see some more news out of Clarity Gold and some more exploration work. And best of luck to you. Thank you. That's James Rogers, President, CEO of Clarity Gold. Again, Clarity trades on the CSE with the symbol CLAR and also on the OTC market here in the United States with CLGCF.